Hello everyone, I'm Rob Smith, the Smith & Black channel here at Ticker Talker with the new macro vid, wishing everybody a happy new year. And we got some interesting stuff here. SPY, big outside year. Momo Hammer, outside 3, going out right on the highs. And so the question is, if we get out of this, do we stay out? Because an outside bar, that could happen again. And obviously with pandemics and all the things that we don't know going on, that's something we'd want to know about. But you can see this monster range after last year's real blaster, and then took it out. So here's your broadening formation, taking these out and taking that out. But you're going out on the high. So whenever you have an outside bar, you want to stay outside. So if we start going to new highs, we want to stay up there. So we'll see how that goes. But you can see we've only had, this was an outside year here that just ticked down a little bit. But this is very rare. It almost never happens. So it is what it is, and we're going out on the highs. If we go to the quarterly, here, you can see we had the outside, inside quarter, 312, and still going and going out on the highs. So anytime we go out on the highs, everything's going to look good. Everybody's going to say, oh, I'll buy it out of pullback because it looks good. So the thing is, how are you going to make this look bad? How are you going to reverse any of this? You're nowhere near doing that. So, so far for the markets, that's good. QQQ, quarterly, just blasting up, was too strong here. That outside quarter, 3-2 to the upside, going out on the highs. If we go to the year, you can recall that the Qs were too strong to go outside. They came down but couldn't take out last year's lows, and then boom, right here when continuity changed to upside, everything exploded. Now it's out on the highs. So is what it is. There you go. If we go to the small cappers, look at this. Look at this. Huge outside year. Quarterly, the outside, inside 3, 1, 2, 2, and then that real big blast here after triangulate out and into the highs. So nowhere near a reversal there either. If we go to TLT bonds, TLT bonds, you can see this 3/4 inside of here. Right? So how are you going to get outside of this range is what we want to know about. It's an inside month this month, so we'll see, but nowhere near taking out the mother bar. So we can expect to get chopped up in the bond market. If you go to the year, you'll see this. How are you not going to be an inside year? Right? How are you going to take that or that out? You're nowhere near doing that. So bond market might be a chop shop. Obviously, it's very early. We haven't even opened, but we'll see how that goes. But that's something you'd want to know about if you're trading that. The Dow Jones Diamonds. Yeesh, Momo Hammer, big outside year. If we go to the quarter, the outside, inside 3, 1, 2, 2, and into the highs. So just like I said, it's a lot of exhaustion risk by hanging around the highs, but we'll see how that goes. If we go to the trannies, quarterly, the outside, inside 3, 1, 2, we knew about that, going into the highs, and it's going to give you this on the year. Same deal. Same deal. And so one of the reasons everything's going to look very similar is like when you have the kind of sell-off we had earlier this year, then the recovery, things will all tend to look like the futures, especially on a macro basis, because the futures take over when there's high volatility, where natural buyers and sellers will just stand back and let it happen. So as you'll see as we go on here, there's been some things that have changed. So different, like I said, Boeing, something like this. How are you not going to be an inside year in here? So most of the pandemics, how are you going to take this out or that out when you're here? You're nowhere near doing that. Stuff like airlines. How are you going to do that? And so you'd more likely, if they're going to do that, would be go bankrupt. They're done, right? But for the most part, they could spend years, if not decades, in this range. That's a problem, right? It's a problem for them, not for us, because we know not to go there. But doesn't mean you can't trade it because this is a macro chart. What it means is most likely you only get out instead of doing the long-term hold, right? So we'll see how that goes. If we go to the utilities, big outside year and nowhere near taking it out. But if we go to the quarterly, here you can see the quarterly is outside, inside, inside, and then pokes up. So the thing is, if we're going to stay in this mother bar, we want to see if we can take this out, right? or are we going to take that out? So it's still trying to drive higher, but 3/4 inside of that range there. If we go to the REITs, VNQ, you can see the same thing, 3/4 inside of here. And if you go to the yearly, big outside year, like some of these, how are you going to get out of here, right? This is something you really want to be aware of. And so most people, when they think of a macro chart or something, they'll just put out a daily chart and put more bars on it. No, it's like you want to start at the yearly, quarterly, down to the monthly, and see, are you going to be able to break any of this stuff, right? So you're nowhere near doing that. If we go to the financials, FAS, year, look at this, big, huge outside year. How are you going to take this out, right? How are you going to take out the highs or the lows? You ain't. And if we go to the quarterly, once again, the big outside. So the good part for this, for these guys, was the inside, and then boom, to the upside on the quarterly. That's good. But now you got a new quarter, a new year coming, and it puts you smack dab in the middle of the range, right? So that's something you want to be aware about. XLF. Similar, but a little better. It's a little bit closer to taking this out. All right, you got your inside quarter to the upside. That was nice, and it was grindy. The thing is, for people that are longer-term investors or swingers or whatever you want to call them, is that we knew about this, right? Because we talk about this stuff in the macro video once a month, right? And there you go, inside quarter, and boom, off you go. If we go to KRE, we'll go to the small banks. Here you go. Look at that, inside quarter, albeit to the upside. If you go to the year, yeesh. All right, a little closer to taking out the upside, all right, on the yearly. And you can see this was an inside year. This would be a RevStrat year if we can take this out to the upside, all right? Here's 3, 1, 2. 2, RevStrat. It's like you think it can't happen? Well, we're going to find out. Well, so that's going to be above here. If you can get above 58.47, you got some distance on that, but we'll see if we can do that. If we go to energy, XLE, the inside year and down, puke, nowhere near taking out either side of this year's range. Certainly, handily would be quite a move to even go to RevStrat this thing. If we go to the quarterly, here, 3/4 inside of here. So this is once you go inside like this, if you can't get out of here, so that's a mother bar. These three, either side of these lows or this high gets my attention, but you're nowhere near doing that. It was a 1-bar RevStrat on the quarter, but still stuck in the major range. We go to OIH. See, very similar, stuck in here, 3/4 in here, and that yearly. Here, still nowhere near taking out last year's highs, so I'm going to be aware of that. If we go to XRT retail, that goes blasting into the highs. Look at this. Look at this range for years. Going sideways, and then boom, boom, takes it out, going towards the highs. So just some exhaustion risk here. And for the most part, it's fragmented where XRT, that's, you're looking at, case-by-case basis of the stores. But this is very nice. Here you go, the down, the inside, boom, right here. 2 nice quarters to the upside for XRT, but just stuck into the highs. If we go to IBB, just exhaustion risk going toward the highs. You're closer to taking out the highs, right, after all of this. And if you look at the yearly, you're going to see this in IBB. Here. Not quite. I don't think this is inside, all right? 2374. No, not quite. But you can see this outside, closer to the highs, just exhaustion risk. We'll see how that goes. If we go to gold. And gold takes out these highs on the year. Closer to taking out the highs of the year. That was nice, right? After coming down through this. If you go to the quarterly, you're going to see this. Quarterly, inside, Momo hammer. Right? So now you're closer to taking that out. If they're going to get it in gold, I'm like, Bitcoin. It's like, maybe gold. We'll see. All right, so if we go to XLK, as you can tell, quarterly just going up, 2 up. Yearly going to be like so, just blasting near the highs, closer to being a 2 to the upside. SMH, the same. So a lot of things when you go out on the highs, yeah, we can just expect all these things to, just be hovering there closer to 2s to the upside. So what we want to be aware of is new continuity levels and saying, okay, Rob, they're on the highs. And I'm like, yeah, it's a long way for a lot of these to give us any negative signals. Doesn't mean that we can't go down. It's just that we're not going to have the signals to do it, the major signals to do it. But we can have continuity dropping, right? And that would set up inside quarters or go up and set up outside quarters or outside years back to the downside. But we have to let them open, and they would have to prove that to us. Until then, we're on the highs and just don't have any additional signals. Okay, so with the massive amount of outside years, there's not going to be a lot of inside years, unfortunately. And, we've seen a lot of good ones come from that. But let's get to it. You've got PCG here as an inside year. So to break that, you'd have to break 625 or 1834. You've got ENDP here, down in here, and that's closer because it's right on the highs. Inside year, low is 208, high 731, so you're close to taking that out. To the upside, if you go to beyond the meat, how are you not going to be an inside year here? How are you going to take this out? You're probably not going to do that, so we'll see how that goes. You go to RAD. RAD down in here and stuck. Inside year, and that'd be a high of 2245 or a low of 885 to take that out. AUPH. And nowhere near taking this out. All right, it's a big inside year there. CVS, a little bit closer. You're stuck in here at CVS. If you can go inside year up or down over 76.44 or 52.04. ITCI. Here, a little bit closer, that would be 312 if you can take this out to the upside. 34.31. TWOU here, inside year, and you'd have to take out 49.46 to go inside year and up on that. IRWD here, and you can see this, higher high, lower low, then inside. This, nowhere near taking it out, but you need to take 14.06. Hershey's Chocolate, inside Momo Hammer. On the year, over 161.83 would take that out. QURE here, yikes. And closer to taking this to the downside, below 34.38. Okay, here's where things get a little more interesting, the inside quarters, all right? So this will tell the tale of the beginning of the year here. We got Microsoft inside on the quarter, right? Above 228.12 or below 199.62. You've got Workhorse inside of the quarter, nowhere near taking it out. If you go to Facebook inside on the quarter, you take that out, would be above 297.38 or below 254.82. Go to CRM, Salesforce. Closer to taking the downside, inside quarter. Above 270.92 or below 215.63. Netflix. Right dab in the middle. So like a lot of this stuff is like in the middle of a lot of things here. So don't be surprised to stall out, but we'll see. Netflix quarterly, you'd have to take out 572.49 or 463.41. Mondelez. Inside Momo Hammer. So we're looking to take out 59.12 for the Momo Hammer to kick in there. You can also see these 3 quarters inside of here. Overstock, huge inside quarter and right near the lows, below 47.61. NVIDIA, above 587.66 or below 492. EQT, here, shooters, below 12.27 or above 16.87. NVAX. Doge, right in the middle of it. Which is, have to take out 76.59 or 150.50. Amazon. Above 3,496.24, below 29.50.12. Home Depot. Above 292.65 or below 258.73. DocuSign. Right dead in the middle. Below 185.36 or below 256. Big Lots. Closer to the shooter quarter inside. Below 42.66. Church and Dwight CHD. Below 82.52 or above 96.31. That reminds me we missed the XLP. XLP on the quarter just slightly a 2 to the upside. After this, the 3, 1, 2, 2. If we go to Adobe, inside quarter Momo Hammer, above 519.60. If we go to LMT, Lockheed Martin, triple inside quarters. Right after the outside, that's going to be above 395.46 or below 345.65. W, inside quarter, breaks below 221.09. Borg Warner, 3 quarters inside, nowhere near taking either side out, but you need 42.24 or 34.30. Masco, MAS, inside quarter, 60.05, 51.53. ITCI, 3, here you go, the inside year. We already know about that, but the quarterly would be 32.55 or 22.91. DGX. Above 130.84, below 109.50. Campbell Soup. 3 quarters inside. The first quarter, take out 50.77 or below 45.51. Lulu. Above 387.37 or below 307.81. BMRN. 3-1 on the quarter. To bring it back up, you need 92.57. Becton Dickinson, BDX. 3 quarters inside of this. You're going to need either 253.23 or below 226.15. ILMN. Closer to taking out the upside, and that's going to be above 378.33. Yearly hammers, and this is going to be massive because of the outside gears that we had going towards the upside. So we're going to let a lot of these things break. I'm not going to waste a lot of time going through this because we're going to update this once a month. You got GE as a yearly hammer if we can get above 1326. Bank of America, you're going to see a lot of that stuff. Still nowhere near taking it out. So like I said, we're going to let these things take it out. Western Digital, the 1-3. You've got Bristol Myers here trying to hammer. You can see all of this stuff here on a yearly basis. Look at this. This is years inside of just doing nothing in here, so I'm not going to waste a lot of time here. JP Morgan, like I said, it's going to look like a lot of the FAS and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to waste a lot of time on that. We'll let them break, and then next month try and update and see what happens. On the quarter, you got 3 quarters inside, but Baxter would be RevStrat to the upside above 82.88. Mondelez inside, we already went to that. Johnny John. Here, 1 bar Rev Strat, and then Momo Hammer. Quarter above 157.66. Gonna run. Momo Hammer, but you're nowhere near taking that out. MA. Quarterly. Takes out the lows. Potential hammer, because it takes out the low. So the difference between a Momo Hammer and a hammer is a 2 down. Momo Hammer is either inside or a 2 up. All right, we'll be very clear about that. But here above 359.41, if you go to EA, hammer counter shooter above 143.86. Union Pack, Momo Hammer. It's also an inside month above 211.14. SWCH quarterly hammer over 1665. Rev Strat quarters to the downside, potential three quarter pattern here in H&R block. That would kick in below 1491. Oprah, 3 quarters inside, but would be Rev Strat here below 1872. Duke Power, like the Utes, 3 quarters inside, but that would go Rev Strat to the downside below 87.60. So a lot of the utilities would be looking like this. Rev Strat to the downside, 3 quarter inside pattern down here below 94.70. On the year, 1 bar Rev Strat year for GILD and potential Momo shooter if they want to keep crushing this thing below 56.56. Quarterly shooter NVTA below 38.38. ARCT outside 3 shooter below 32.88. Centene CNC shooter below 57.56. AEP, more Ute, 3 quarter inside pattern, shooter, below 80.41. Dollar General, shooter quarter down, below 205.26. ES, Rev Strat quarter shooter down below 82.17. Goose, shooter quarter down below 29.09. VRTX, shooter on the year would have to take out 197.47. So we're going to leave it at that. Everything's got a break. You know, a lot of things closer to taking out to the upside. Then would have to stay there. So we'll leave it at that and let them break. No, that's going to do it. Happy New Year, everybody. I'm Rob Smith, Smith & Lack Channel here. Take your time with the macro vid.